Hello and welcome to Farm Club. My name is Stephen Pagano. I'm so glad you took time out today to learn more about our exciting farming program. Advanced Marketing Solutions is a full-service call center that's located in Sacramento, California. We're vertical in the real estate industry, meaning that real estate is all that we do. We have over 1,100 participating agents in a multitude of states across the United States. Our results are consistently proven over and over again, and we're excited to show you exactly how we work. Now, before we get started, what we have to do is we have to have a brief discussion about marketing before we can talk about Farm Club. That way we better understand exactly how Farm Club best fits in with our business and the best way that we can maximize the results of Farm Club. So, let's talk a little bit about our marketing. There's two ways that we can market ourselves. We are either proactive or we're reactive. Often, we'll dabble in a little of both, but a majority of us will fall into one or the other. Now, let's talk about our reactive marketing. Our reactive marketing is easy. It's bus stops, it's billboards, it's direct mail campaigns. It's a little bit of everything. It can even be your e-marketing and your e-blasting and your emailing campaigns. But when we're reactive, we're constantly still waiting for people to come back to us. We're waiting for people to pick up our marketing materials and then pick up the phone and then make a phone call in our direction. I know that reactive marketing is easier. It's a lot easier to wait for the phone to ring rather than to make that phone ring. But what happens with reactive marketing is very, very simple. We develop a postcard, for example. We love the font, we love the glossy paper, we love everything about it, we think it looks great. We're writing a check for it, so often when we pay for things, we feel, boy, there really must be something here. We then take our reactive marketing piece, our postcard, and we throw it out into the farming territory. Now what happens at that moment, it really changes names from a reactive marketing piece to what I call a prayer circle marketing piece. Because what will happen is you're going to need to join hands with somebody in your office or somebody at home, and every day you're just going to need to send up a little prayer that somehow, some way, somebody that you've sent this reactive marketing piece will pick that up, and they will think it is as great as you have thought it is, and they will actually pick up the phone and they will call you. That's not a predictable way to build our business. There's no predictability to saying, hey, I absolutely know when I do that there will always be people that are reactive to my marketing. So then I'm constantly still wondering, where is my next transaction coming from? Now our proactive people, they never have to worry about that because they don't wait for things to happen. They make things happen. And you could start doing that today. If you were to go out and make 100 door knocks, you too could find 2 or 3 people every day that said you're in the right place at the right time. Now I know a lot of folks, we think about door knocking and we say, boy, that's an awful lot of rejection. I don't like walking down the streets. Guy sees me, he's out there mowing his lawn. He's not even done, and yet he closes everything up, shuts the garage door down, closes all his blinds, and I can see his eye in the peephole, yet he won't answer the door when I knock on it. I understand that there's a certain amount of rejection. But if you were to go out today and you were to knock on 100 doors and talk to 100 people, you'd find 2 or 3 people every single time that said you were in the right place at the right time. Imagine if you had the discipline to do that a couple of times a week. Imagine if you did that a couple of times a week throughout the year. Boy, we'd have 100, 200, 300 people that said we were in the right place at the right time. But it takes discipline. It truly takes discipline. And for some of us, it's just not our bag. It's not our cup of tea to get out there and knock on those doors. Another way that you can do that is you could make phone calls. If you were to go out and make 100 phone calls today, you could find 2 or 3 people every day that said, hey, you're in the right place at the right time. Every single time you reached out and you did that. However, making phone calls is that same level of rejection, yes. Plus there's a few extra factors that are built into phone calling. Phone numbers are truly hard to find. Effective scripts are truly difficult to write and to implement. And then we need a little bit of training. We certainly have to do some role playing, and we probably need an accountability coach. You know, so many different, especially in the real estate environment, coaches are truly accountability partners. They put you on the streets doing the work, making the phone calls, knocking the doors, using their systems. Then they follow up with you to make sure that you are accountable to actually doing it. If you do it, you feel great about it, you high five, and you ask them to continue to be your accountability partner. So I talk to people over and over that say, hey, as long as I had that accountability partner, I had the accountability. But the moment that I stopped that accountability partner, I stopped being proactive. So, what we've done here at Advanced Marketing Solutions and the Farm Club is very, very simple. We step in and we help you with that process. We help you to build that farming strategy. Then we do all the heavy lifting. You do the follow-up and the nurturing. We've created farm clubs in a multitude of markets, from Southern California up into Northern California and Nevada, Southern California high-end markets, Orange County, California, Beverly Hills, California, down into San Diego, up into Northern California, across Phoenix, into Southern Phoenix, into the Tucson area, throughout the state of Colorado, and there are more states being added each and every day. So let's talk a little bit about Farm Club. There's two really important rules to remember about Farm Club before we get started. The first is that it's a 48-week program that delivers leads to you on a bi-weekly basis. The company here, we close down twice a year. We close down the week of the 4th of July, and then we close down generally 2 weeks right around the Christmas and New Year's holiday. So right around that time, there's about 2 weeks. Other than that, you're looking at a program that 48 weeks out of the calendar year are delivering leads to your desktop on a bi-weekly basis. That's rule number one. Rule number two is that you choose 2 zip codes as your target markets. So there'll be 2 specific areas that you say, this is where I want to see my leads coming from. In those zip codes, you'll be able to lay some additional filters over the top of that. So you may say, I prefer to see only single-family residents. Or you may say, I prefer to see only condominiums. We can even segment out commercial properties, duplexes, triplexes, quads, you name it. We can help you to target the types of properties that you're truly after. So those are the 2 rules to Farm Club. Keep those in mind as we start to talk here. Now what happens is, it's very, very simple. What we've done is we've created the entire format or the system for the farming. We do the heavy lifting and the dirty work, if you will, finding phone numbers, building scripts, making the phone calls. But the first thing that we do is we build all of the data for the program. Before we get started, we purchase data from a multitude of different companies. Before we make a single phone call, we can see the year the home was built, and we can see whether or not it has a swimming pool. But we can also see household occupations. We can see the presence of children and the number of children in the house. We can see ethnicity. We can see veterans. We can see where generational grandmother and grandfather have moved back into the house. We can see political parties. We can see potential investors. We can see the magazines that they subscribe to. We can see the things that they buy on the internet and on the Home Shopping Club. We can see a tremendous amount of information. Boy, we can see it all the way down to the names of their doggies and kitties that are in their homes if they have a license that hangs around their neck. So the demographics help us a tremendous amount. We all know that real estate is a relationship game. If you were to look back at your last 10 transactions, you'd have to agree that a good 90% of those, unless you're really lucky, come from some kind of relationship. Somebody you know, somebody you knew, or somebody you built a relationship, you nurtured and fostered, and that's where that transaction came from. Demographics can help you to really understand the people that you're going after. If I turn a lead over to you and somebody has similar demographics to you and they're interested in the same things that you might be interested in, all of a sudden we have common ground. Common ground is the best way to begin that relationship. It's a lot easier than saying, hey, let's talk real estate. It's much easier to say, hey, did you know that we have this in common? All of a sudden we have commonality, then we have common ground. Common ground leads to that relationship. So we start by building all of the data for you. It's part of the program. We use data like this. When we see dual income families and I see the presence of children, I know that I should make phone calls in the evening. It's going to help us to land more people. Then when I look at my target and I see my target's 95 years old, I know that I should call earlier in the morning to reach that target. So demographics help us to determine the best time to reach out. Demographics on your behalf help you to better understand the people that you're following up with and how to best position your marketing. Not only the marketing and how you'll approach people, we do approach people that are having their first baby, for example, brand new families. quite differently than we approach people that are active lifestyle people or retirement, if you will. So we use those demographics not only in how we approach people, but we also use our demographics in our marketing, the words that we say, the photographs that we use. It's all an important part of your strategy. So we build all of that data for you. We even build all of the phone numbers. We generally have 90 to 95% of any given market geographically by telephone. And when I talk about telephone numbers, I'm not talking about the home phone number that you never answer that we all have. That we do see that phone number, but we also see other phones that might appear in your house. So there may be a home phone number that's in the back of the house that you call your office. And when that rings, boy, you run for that phone. We see that. We often can see cell phones as well. So we can generally see your cell phone and other cell phones that might appear on your plan. It really allows us to reach out to people and to talk to people on their time and their terms. If we were to go back to 1995 and talk about telemarketing, we'd say that callers always call at dinner time. Well, of course we do. That was the time when you were home, and it was the best time strategically to reach the most amount of people. About the year 2000, all of a sudden, cell phones started to become a part of life. But the cell phones were still $7, $8 a minute, so they really hadn't come into their own yet. But now, cell phones are an everyday part of life. If you were to go to a shopping mall or an airport today, you'd have a hard time finding people that are actually looking up and not looking down onto their phones. So what happens is, by building cell phone numbers, you'd be surprised how often people will talk to us while they're in the line at their grocery store for a few seconds and give us a few answers. And that's really all we need. We're finding that some of the best times to make phone calls are the commute times in the morning and the commute times in the afternoon, where you have a captive audience that's sitting in their car and they'll be glad to give you a minute of their time. So the cell phone has really changed the way that we can reach out to people. Then, by building 90% of those cell phones and home phone numbers in a market, we can really talk to a majority of the people that live in the farming territory. Again, when you start to play numbers games, we want to make sure that people answer the phone that we're dialing. We even can find what's called voice over IP phone numbers. So these are services like Vonage. Most of us know that name. There's several companies that provide that type of a service. This is somebody that might have multiple homes in multiple states or cities. They have a box at their home, if you will, that's plugged into the internet. It provides their home phone service. And then when they travel around, they unplug that box and plug it back in wherever they may go. It constantly brings their home phone numbers around with them. We can see those phone numbers and we can contact those folks on those numbers as well. So the data that we build is truly deep, and we're sure to share all of that information with you as well. Now, let's spend a little time talking about scripting. What we do is we custom tailor each and every script to each client's needs and style. So every one of my participants in the Farm Club has their own say on their scripts and their ideas. Since you and I will be together for the next 48 weeks, and hopefully even longer than that, what we really are is a bi-weekly opportunity that you can bring a customized message in your farm based on the market and market conditions as they change. So, we should be making phone calls around your just listeds. We should be making phone calls around your just solds. We should be calling around every open house and inviting friends and neighbors to come by. You know, at your open houses, friends and neighbors are coming by. They just don't tell you that they live on the street. But if you were to walk them outside and watch them walk down the street, they'd go a few houses down and in the front door they would go. What a great way to reach out to people, let them know about the things that you're doing in the community, what events might be happening in their neighborhood, and then to be able to share information and to be able to build that relationship. Sometimes familiarity, just continually saying your name and showing your face, really is the beginning of a great relationship and some building blocks of a great relationship as well. So how about community events? Shouldn't we be calling around every time you're doing amazing charitable events? You're doing a picnic at the park. You're doing an annual cleanup at the beach. You're doing Operation One Warm Coat and gathering warm coats in the fall. You're partnering with Toys for Tots in the Marine Corps around Christmas time. You're doing a food drive. You're a member of the ASPCA and you are donating dog food and adopting animals. Whatever you might be doing, doesn't it make sense that we would get on the phone and we would start to talk to people that lived in the community and share the good news of what you're doing? You see, what happens is most people that live out in our farming territories, they really think one thing about us. They think as real estate agents, what we'd like people to do is just to move. We don't care a lot about the community as much as we care about you leaving. And then we'd like new people to move in, and every 6 months we'd like those people to move out and new people to move in, and the cycle to continue and to continue. I know some of you might be nodding your head. Sounds like a great city, but that doesn't exist. So what we have to do is we have to get more and more involved in the community. And how we do that is through our community events. Most of us are already doing these events. We're just not sharing them with the community. Now, if we do cleanup at the park and I reach out to 100 people on your behalf, does that mean an awful lot of new people show up for cleanup at the park? No, it doesn't. But what it does do is it ensures that an awful lot of people have now heard about your community event. And that's what matters, is that more and more people are hearing about it. More and more people are hearing the opportunity to learn about you and the great things that you do. So, what we have is a combination of different ideas. And each week we can custom tailor our scripts to work exactly what you need them to do. Let me give you an idea of what a potential buyer script might sound like. You're working with buyers and you need to get the message out. Maybe it sounds like this. Hi, can I speak to Bill Homeowner? Hi Bill, my name is Steve and I'm the assistant to Mike Smith here at XYZ Real Estate. The reason for the call, Mike, he's working with potential buyers. They absolutely love the neighborhood. They just couldn't quite find what they were after. So Mike asked me to check in with you to see if you, or perhaps anyone you know, might have plans for their property in the next 6 to 9 months or so. Now, what you've heard, there's some psychology that's involved there. That is called a waterfall, that scripting idea. You notice that there aren't a lot of questions along the way. Instead, this sentence leads to this one, and this one leads to this one. We're not asking questions, hi, how are you? Is it a good time to talk? Should we call back? We know the answers to all of those questions, so we can skip right over those and get right into the meat and the potatoes. So what happens is we deliver a 22-second presentation that culminates to a yes or no. Do you have plans, or do you know somebody that does? In our business, there are no objection stoppers. There's no way I can convince anybody that they're in the right place at the right time at any time. I just can't do that. So what we try to do is to just be in the right place at the right time. Once we find somebody that's indicated that real estate might be on their mind, they might know somebody, they might have heard somebody, we ask a couple of specific questions. How soon would you like to start the process? Number 2, if you did go, where do you think you'd go? And last but not least, is the home ready to show? Do you think it needs some work? Those really are information questions. We're really trying to dig in, because the truth is, if someone could answer even one of those 3 questions, a good, productive agent would probably camp out on their doorstep. Because we often find people who say, well, you know where we'd really like to go is to San Francisco. You see, my son, he was transferred there last year and he took all 3 of my grandchildren there and I desperately miss them. Well, in the follow-up, this is no longer about real estate, is it? It's about connecting grandma and grandpa with the grandchildren, and that's superhero work. So, by making the phone calls, reaching out and asking those questions, we really begin to find the motives of why people want to do things. That's even better than asking them what they plan to do, is to help them connect them to their goals. So, through the phone calls and that line of questioning, we're able to share that information with you for your strategic follow-up. Now, a majority of the people that we talk to, they don't have any plans, and it's a very simple and easy call. We're able to brand your name, brand the company name. We ask if they have plans. The answer is no. But for everybody that says no, we always ask this question at the end. Mike would love to keep you updated on what's going on in the market via email. Is there an email address that we can reach you at from time to time? What happens there is that is truly another informational sort of gathering question. There is just a group of people out there that know, they're savvy enough to know that when we're on the phone asking questions, that if they tip their hat and say that they're planning to sell sometime next year, that might mean that here you show up and start to knock on their door regularly, which you probably will, and begin to ask them about their plans and how you might be able to help. So a certain amount of people will never tell us that they are planning to sell. But we get to this final question and we offer the ability to see home valuations and market activity via email. And several people will opt into that as a way not to tip their hat, but still to gather the information that they think they need to kind of study and begin their process. We know this, 20% of the people last year that did nothing more than opt in an email address to us listed their home within 12 months. So we know there's always value to the people that opt in the email addresses. Again, we make thousands of phone calls on your behalf. The people that say no, say it very clearly. It's very easy. It's a very quick phone call. What we're trying to do is to find those people that say, hey, we've thought about that. We also know when we make phone calls that a good majority of the people that we find are people that tell us about others. We'll often hear about someone's brother, their sister-in-law, their neighbor across the street that's getting a divorce, and their neighbor on the right-hand side of them that is planning on going into assisted living. So we're able to harvest that type of information as well. So it's a great outreach, and we can custom tailor scripts to do anything that you'd like. So you call up and say, hey, I've heard some great ideas. Here's some bullet points I'd like to add to my script. Our professional script writers here at the Farm Club develop great scripts. You approve them, we implement, and we're off to the races, bringing that script to the market. So scripting, we've talked a little bit about data and how we go about building data. We've talked about how we go about building phone numbers and the information there. Now we've talked a little bit about how we custom tailor every script to each client's needs and individual style. Now, this is actually what a lead would look like. So this is what a lead sheet straight across comes to your desk. One of the greatest things that we do is this. You'll see on the right-hand side of the screen, here where my arrows are, you'll see these arrows there. What happens is we record and archive every call that we make. So when we flip leads over to you, we actually flip a recording of the phone call from the moment we said hello until the moment we said goodbye. I like to say that you can hear everything, the sincerity all the way to the sarcasm. You can hear us ask questions that really, really matter. And then you can hear us ask questions that just aren't that important to them. So what happens is, again, by listening to the phone call, your strategy for follow-up, not only do you receive demographics or information to help with your strategizing of your follow-up, but by actually hearing the phone call, it's as if you were there. So you're set for your follow-up is confident, you're ready to make your follow-up call in an effective manner. So that is actually what a lead sheet looks like that we send over to your office on a regular basis. Accompanying this lead sheet is not only a lead sheet, not only the WAV file of the recording of the call, but we also include the demographics. So here, now we're looking at strategic demographics about that home or that lead sheet that I just showed you a moment ago. You can see there's some deep information. Often there's birthdays, ages, political parties. We can often see religions. We can see the genders. We can see marital status. We can see properties they own and where they own them. But this isn't all. This is just page 1 of the demographics. We also have the opportunity to see this entire page. Now we can start to see him as a potential investor, what his wealth might be estimated at. Are they a high-tech household, meaning are they internet people, yes or no? So many of us wrap our marketing around the fact that we believe that everyone's a high-tech household, when the truth is several are not. And so, again, strategizing for your follow-up using demographics matters. If we expect everyone reads email, yet 30% of our homes don't have a computer, we have a system that really is broken. So by using these demographics, you'll better understand the people that live on the farm. I have a market. Take a look down on the bottom there. See where it says magazines, gardening? I have a market where we found that 30 to 40% of the people that lived in that market were subscribing to some type of gardening magazine. Now, in that, what we've done is very simple. We headed down to the local hardware store and we got handheld shovels. What we were able to do is to print out the business card of the clients. They had their business cards printed directly on the blade of the shovel. Then they kept a handful of these shovels in the back of their car. Whenever they ran across somebody that read the gardening or they had a gardening interest, we happened to use the shovels as our introduction. We never indicated that we knew gardening was important to them. We just, ironically, had a shovel when we knocked on the front door, and it spoke to people over and over. People were excited about this great little tool that you had given them. And what's most important is they associated that really good feeling with our client. They associated their really good feeling with the person that's trying to foster and build and nurture a relationship. You. That's what we're after. So, demographics really do matter. So in our program, not only do you see a great lead sheet that looks like this, you'll also receive the WAV files, which are the actual recordings of the phone calls. You'll also receive demographics pages that cover somewhere between 40 to sometimes up to 60 demographics on every home that we talk to. So that's exactly what we've done. So let's talk a little bit about the Farm Club. So we know right up front that we had a couple of rules. First was that we were choosing 2 zip codes where we wanted to see our leads generated from. The second thing that we're doing is we're customizing each and every script and branding each call to the individual agent. It's always customized to you. The leads that we produce and we develop in the Farm Club are removed from the Farm Club cold call data. What I mean by that is this. When you choose your zip code and we land on leads for you, those leads are pulled out of the zip code and never called again for any agent at any time. They now become your property. They should become your follow-up farm, your people farm. You are going to nurture each one of these leads. You are going to build a relationship with them. And every 3 to 4 weeks, you're going to reach out, say hello, have multiple touches every year. And what we're doing is this. We're going to develop a system where people believe that we are their go-to source for real estate. Just like they would have a favorite mechanic they depended on for their car and a favorite dentist they depended on for their teeth, they will now have a favorite agent that they depend on for their real estate information. That person is going to be you. So the leads that we develop are removed from the program and never called again. We're going to build the data. We're going to append the impossible to find cell phone numbers and home phone numbers and voice over IP numbers. We're going to add all of the demographics to the leads that we develop. We're going to record the calls and we're going to make sure that you see absolutely everything. In several offices, your management team is involved in your Farm Club. If you happen to be in one of those offices, you can count that your manager will be involved to help you to provide that accountability, that coach that comes alongside you and says, I want to just help you to stay on track, that you're following up, that you're sticking with it. We can become distracted easily, and I'm going to keep you on the track to success. Your manager can help you with mentoring. They can help you with ongoing support. There's great things that they can do. And of course, we provide the training too. Our programs include comprehensive training classes, webinars, WebExes, online training, comprehensive members-only online resource and training center. You'll be able to log on and see scripts and ideas and reports and what works in multiple markets and be able to apply that directly to what you're doing on a regular basis. So the Farm Club, in a nutshell, is not only a lead generation machine, it's not only a PR machine that says your name over and over, it's not only a training and a coaching program as well, it is just a combination of all of these things rolled into one. So what can you expect from the Farm Club? Well, it's simple. Number one, bi-weekly leads delivered to your desktop year-round. They'll hit your email like clockwork. Everybody has a specific schedule of the days that we're making calls. That way you're set up and ready to do your follow-up. We make the prospecting calls, you do the follow-up, and you do the nurturing. On average, our year-long program reaches 3,000 homeowners per member. So remember, we're choosing 2 zip codes together, and we'll be talking to about 1,500 in each one of those zip codes that we're reaching out to. Now, if you remember earlier, we talked about people that say yes and people that say no. Well, out of those yeses, we're going to find a good 30 or 40 people every year that say, hey, you might be in the right place at the right time. Now, think back to a few moments ago when we were talking about our scripts. We want to stick with each and every one of these 30 to 40 leads that we develop each year. Every year out of our 3,000 calls, over 2,950 of those people will have no plans to do anything and will be no problem. It'll be great, a quick call, in and out. But those 30 to 40 people that indicate that there is a plan there, that there's a thought, that they might be doing this, this might be on the horizon, it's worth sticking with each one of those people. Why? Well, it's simple. On average, 10% of those leads complete some type of real estate transaction. They buy something, they sell something within the first 12 months, and another 5% in the following 6 months. People that say, hey, we're going to do something, and they just don't quite get around to getting it done. But you stick with those leads and you nurture that. See, the concept is this: the 30 or 40 people that I give you every year, you're going to build those people into what we call the people farm. They're going to trust you. You're going to nurture those folks. And along the way, until they do a real estate transaction with you, you're going to be able to ask them for referrals on a regular basis. You see, your business really begins to change when you have 100 people in what we call a people farm. If you have 100 people at any given time that trust you, they believe in you, you can reach out to those people and you'll always find 2 or 3 referrals every time you reach out to them, every single time. So what we want to do is we want you to have this built-in people farm that you would be able to wake up every day and say, I need to, before I do anything else, I need to touch my people that know me. Because really what I want you to do is I want you to think a little more like a politician and a little less like a salesperson. Now you might look at me and say, a politician? Really? That's really what you want me to be? Well, I want you to understand this. Politicians understand marketing better than anybody else does. They understand that years in advance, they need to get out there and they need to kiss babies, they need to shake hands, they need to have community events, they need to be a part of everything that's going on, because there will come a time when you are sitting in a polling booth and no one will be able to stand outside the door and to remind you to vote for them. Well, every home has a polling station. It's called the kitchen table. And everybody gathers around that polling station and they talk about real estate. They talk about their plans and what they plan to do and where they plan to go. If they know your name at that moment, you have an opportunity. If you don't, chances are you don't. And it's that simple. So this is when I talked in the very beginning of our get-together today, if you will. I talked about the predictability. The ability to build a business that has predictable income. That's really what our program does. In essence, once you're able to lay this little crystal ball over a multitude of houses in your farm, and you really begin to understand what people's plans are long before their plans materialize, then you're no longer an agent that's running around interviewing against 6 or 7 agents at a time. Instead, you're working with people months before they make their decisions, and you're their natural go-to when they do. So that's what the program does. What does the program cost? Boy, it's really simple. Farm Club costs, our prospecting plus your nurturing provides a proactive 1-2 punch that every business desperately needs. You're pretty easy to ask yourself this question now. Am I a proactive person? Do I make my phone calls? Do I knock my doors? And do I do it with discipline? If you answered no to any of those questions, then Farm Club is right up your alley. What we're really looking for in Farm Club are agents that say, hey, I can manage follow-up. You give me a good solid lead, I will knock on that door, I will build that relationship, I will nurture them, they will love me, they will call me their go-to for real estate, and they will give me referrals along the way, and when they sell, they're going to sell with me. Perfect, that's exactly what we want. So what Farm Club is, it's simple. It's a one-time cost of $375. That's a one-time fee. If you stick with Farm Club for years and years, you never pay that fee again. That one-time setup builds the data in your market, builds your file, gets everything ready to get started. Then it's a simple $135 a month. It delivers bi-weekly leads to you. It delivers monthly training opportunities direct to you. And most important, it develops relationships that turn into listings. Bottom line, what we're after is we're building super agents throughout supermarkets. We'd love the opportunity to share Farm Club with you and how it works. To learn more or to get started today, simply call us at 1-800-590-4AMS. That's 1-800-590-4267. I appreciate you taking time with me today. Thanks for learning more about the Farm Club.